right, guys. So I found this article here around TikTok versus YouTube and which one should you choose. So this was on promo.com, and I also found a few other kind of articles and stories that kind of tie into this. Okay, so I found that this, in terms of finding data and research about TikTok, YouTube users, all that kind of stuff. What's interesting about this, it's all third-party research. Every time you see any sort of data about it, they usually surveyed a few thousand people. Usually it's around 7,000 and more. I found that the data was all over the place in terms of demographic, different ages, people use different age groups and so on, the amount of views people are watching, the average time watching, all that kind of stuff. It was interesting because I was actually digging to try to figure out what the accurate answer was, and it was kind of all over the place. Okay, so just gonna run you through some of like what I found was the most common sort of stats. Okay, so user base on TikTok is about a billion monthly users, and on YouTube is about 2 billion monthly users, which is very interesting considering how new TikTok is and so on. I think that's really interesting. Demographic on YouTube. 15% are what you'd call the Gen Z, 13 to 17. 50% of 13 to 17-year-olds are watching YouTube. I guess they're saying regularly. I don't know what the stat is there. 95% of people between the ages of 18 to 29. 91% of the people between 30 and 49. 83% of the people between 50 and 64. And about 50% of the people who are 65 and older. That's YouTube, right? So a lot of people are watching YouTube. Then on TikTok, 43% of people between the ages of 18 to 24, 32% of the people between 25 to 34, and only 3.4% of people who are over 55. So definitely a younger demographic, right? They say on YouTube, the Gen Zs, which are considered currently between the ages of 13 to 17, around that age, spend on average 86 minutes a day on YouTube. That was from a 2020 study. So that's about 43 hours a month. There were many other studies that talked about around 24 hours a month, which was interesting. So it's kind of all over the place of how much they're actually spending. And then on TikTok, they have something between the ages of 4 to 15. It was weird that it was at 4 years old versus a little bit older, because I don't even know what age you're supposed to be when you get TikTok. But when Marcus was around 4 or 5, the games that he was playing, there was always ads for TikTok, and he signed up for TikTok by himself. Actually, I one time saw him using TikTok. It was actually the first time I ever saw TikTok, was because he had randomly downloaded it through an ad, and he was watching videos on TikTok at that age too. So it is interesting that they are advertising in games for kids. So whatever. Anyways, but it says 87 minutes, which is about the same. That equals out to about 43.5 hours a month, right? And again, these stats, I mean, you could just find stats all over the map, right?
Yeah. I got to jump in here, dude, because I'm not going to call out any names here or anything, but I watched virtually the last Traffic and Conversion Summit. And I got really upset because I mean, it's a well-known, well-respected event. And they always have guest speakers that are experts in their different disciplines. And they had a TikTok expert up there. I'm not going to say who it was. And she was spouting out all of this stuff. Well, it's a virtual event. So I'm like, what she just said doesn't really jive. So I started like fact checking. And I'm like, mind blown, because I'm like proving her stats wrong. Like she was saying how TikTok was beating YouTube. And I was like, what? I've never heard that. And then I looked it up. And what she failed to mention in her presentation was, TikTok was beating YouTube in the UK. So I was like, okay, well, and she just, omitted that section of it. Right. So, I mean, I think, Dan, I want to know if you're on TikTok in a second here, but really quickly before I pass the mic over to you, I think it all boils down to, like, Matt, I agree with you, man. There's the data. People can get lost in the data, right? It's super easy to get, because especially when YouTube considers a view 30 seconds. Do you guys know what a view in TikTok is? I looked it up.
What, 3 seconds?
0.1 seconds.
Nice.
But they autoplay the video, so anything that shows up is a view.
Yes. That's exactly my point.
Yeah. Wait, are you saying the Chinese Communist Party would lie about numbers? I don't understand. I mean, I put all my money into Chinese real estate because they are so transparent and honest. Chinese real estate.
Sorry, Dan, are you telling me you're not on TikTok? What's the story there?
Not on TikTok. Okay. Purely principle. So many people tell me to go on. It could grow my business. The fact that so many people are on a software that, for all intents and purposes, is owned or at least completely heavily influenced by the Chinese Communist Party is the most insane thing in the world to me. Even if they're not influencing the searches, which they are, people have tested, like even in America, if you try to put in videos about Tiananmen Square or whatever, you're going to get some flagging. Even if they're not doing, even if that's not the issue, the fact that the amount of data they're getting, like imagine the 1930s, 40s, or like during the Cold War, you're like, oh, well, let's give our citizens a device the Soviets have made that will gather mass amounts of data about everything about them, allow our algorithm to skew what they watch, what they're interested in, what they think. There's probably a reason TikTok videos lean, well, I don't know if they do, but like, if you're thinking that algorithm, what are you going to promote the most, right? You're going to promote the heavy politically left videos, maybe the heavy right videos, make everyone hate each other, tear apart society. It's like we're just handing them the future of civilization. But that's cool. We can make some bucks on TikTok.
There's a lot of I remember Trump was gonna ban TikTok over this, right? So yes, I think that part is interesting, but also just all platforms in general also have certain agendas too, right?
Oh yeah, I guarantee you.
So, but yeah, I got the answer.
Like everyone's got an agenda, but one agenda is like committing genocide and trying to destroy the West. So I'm like, that agenda is maybe slightly worse. Like Zuckerberg still just wants to get laid. That's basically all he's still about. He's like trying to figure out women. He almost has enough data to have sex now. He's going to put it all together. I had a sort of double date with his sister-in-law. True story.
What?
In 2012.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. I did not know who she was. A friend in New York was like, hey, come to the bar. I'm seeing an ex of mine. Like, we're having drinks with these girls. And then after he was like, that was Mark Zuckerberg's sister-in-law. I was like,
okay,
that may have made her seem slightly less boring. I mean, she was a very boring human being, but it would have been slightly more interesting. I might have engaged a little bit having known that fact beforehand, but there you go.
So YouTube video lengths are 15 minutes for unverified accounts.
I gotta stop you there. That's not true. This article got that wrong. I've
really?
Just recently, not that long ago, I published an 11-hour video for a client on their YouTube channel, and when I had to do some research because I was uploading such a long video. And last I checked, it was like it's
that's
like
right.
Like there is a limit, but last I checked, it was like 15 hours or something. I don't know why this article says 2 hours. So
I think you're right.
False. Don't believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's old. I was thinking about that too, because I remember seeing that there was like a one really long
They do
video.
Those music mixes, right? Where it's fall asleep,
and meditation,
mix
there's meditation videos.
That's right.
There's there's all kinds. There's focus videos. There's what do they call?
Yeah.
What do they call that girl like working at her desk? The animated girl working at her desk with the rain out the window.
I know
the
beats,
the
binary beats.
Yeah, because people like during COVID, people felt alone. So they would play that video for hours and hours and hours, right? So Go ahead. Keep going there, Matt.
So TikTok started with 15-second videos, and that was actually due to a licensing issue when people were using music, because originally it was called Musical.ly, if anyone doesn't know that. So they launched. They changed the name to TikTok in 2018, but TikTok actually launched as Musical.ly in 2016 with 15-second clips. The reason it was so short was because they couldn't get licensing for the music. Then they shortly after that made it 3 minutes. And then that's what it's been now for a while. And now they are just starting to test 10-minute videos on TikTok. And originally YouTube started with 10-minute limits. And then I think they slowly increased it. I remember at that time when it was 10 minutes, and they said, hey, if you get a verified account, it's 15. But back in the day when YouTube started, it was short videos that would go viral, right? It was always like make a 2-3 minute video. Now I think that it's like 10 minutes is kind of the sweet spot. 10 to 20 minutes is the sweet spot. So just in terms of video length, so, you always see these platforms, they'll start with smaller like attention spans and they grow over time. So that's why I really think that TikTok is wanting to be the next YouTube. And I wonder, in terms of vertical video, can someone sit and watch a 10-minute video where it's so easy to swipe it or whatever? Like, how do you watch 10 minutes on TikTok? I don't know. And I wonder if they're going to actually switch, or not switch, but also offer, horizontal video, going from vertical video to horizontal. Because then if they had there's no really big YouTube competitor. There's like video hosting platforms. In terms of like video discoverability, there's nothing else. Right? Where do you go to really find so it'll be interesting to see if TikTok, I think they are going to continue to raise those limits and probably switch from vertical to watching things horizontally and maybe picture in picture, maybe, the kind of those premium features you get on YouTube where you can like close the app and keep on listening.
I really like
if they just did that and made that for free. Yeah. But if they did that on TikTok, I would be uploading all of our stuff on TikTok. It's just another way to, why not? Right. So that to me is kind of, if you're worried about China and all that kind of stuff, that's where I think TikTok can really win, because they have this younger generation that's going to grow up with it. That's what Facebook did too. Right. They were originally with like college students and so on. And now
it's probably no surprise they were advertising to 4-year-olds. I mean, that's when you start the indoctrination.
Exactly. That's 100%. That's true. Right. And like Marcus knows what TikTok is and stuff. And now I tell him he can't watch it because I don't know. I can't control as much the type of content he sees and so on within the app.
He's talking a lot about the proletariat and stuff. And you're like, okay, this is a little worrisome. No more TikTok.
So TikTok.
Well, I was just going to quickly, because we're talking about TikTok versus YouTube. And this promo article, I was actually impressed with how in depth they went. Like, this is a huge article. They really did their homework on this. I agree with you, Matt. The data is a little over the place, which is why I'm sharing my screen here. This is why I went over to similarweb.com, which is one of those popular tools that people use to measure how successful a website is. So you can see here, I've got the filter set to worldwide. No big surprise. Everybody knows the number one website in the world is Google. But the beautiful thing about this tool is that I've got these 3 other metrics on the right-hand side here. I got average visit duration. I've got the average website pages viewed per visit. And then finally, I got the bounce rate. Everyone wants to know what the bounce rate is, right? So even though YouTube here is showing as the number.
Yeah. Let's just really quickly explain what a bounce rate is. They come to the site and they don't click on anything. That's what bounce rate is.
And actually, I'm going to hover over the description here. Thanks, Matt, because bounce rate can mean different things to different people. What they're using here is the percentage of visitors that view only one page on the website before exiting. So in YouTube's case, that'd probably be viewing one video and then exiting, right? That would be how they're calculating the bounce rate in YouTube's case. So now I got to highlight this because it's just too important not to highlight. Right now, I'm looking at the top 10 websites in the world. YouTube is kicking all of their butts on all 3 metrics. It's got the highest average view duration, it's got the highest page visits, and it's got the lowest bounce rate. So the next question is, where's TikTok on this list? So I'm scrolling all the way down, and there it is in the 18th spot. So I'm not bashing TikTok here, basically going back to what we're talking about. And this article is about for business.
But wait, Andrew, hang on. I gotta cut you off because that's web-based and TikTok is very much a mobile app.
That's fair. You're right. Yeah, TikTok is very much a mobile app. And I'm like Dan, I don't have TikTok either, but.
And you know how all these platforms are like super mobile, right? Like TikTok's basically 100% mobile. Instagram, Facebook became like over 90% mobile. Twitter is very mobile. And then I remember the stat on YouTube, it was like 70% mobile, right? So they're not as high up on the mobile. I totally agree with you.
So if TikTok actually wants to become a serious contender of YouTube, they're going to have a much better desktop experience for one.
They do. They have a good website. I think there's, it's definitely there. I'm just saying in terms of how people really use TikTok, because it's vertical video. It's made for your phone.
Speaking to that, I wanted to circle back to that too. Viewer intent. viewer intent is a huge thing here. I know a lot of people think it's a sexy thing to talk about these days, YouTube versus TikTok. This is what a lot of people are like, that we're talking about right now. But viewer intent really means something. And in my opinion, and I'm just one tiny piece of the marketplace here, I've heard lots of people in my life say, I got to delete TikTok off my phone because I'm wasting so much time. I got to delete Instagram off my phone. I'm wasting so much time. I've never heard anyone say that about YouTube off their phone. I've never heard it.
That's right. Yeah. YouTube, you educate a lot. Yeah.
I do that, but only because I have none of the other apps. So YouTube is like the
okay,
last
well then, Dan, you're
left.
finally you're the first person
you're right,
that says that about the YouTube app, though. You're the first person.
YouTube is an intentional thing often where you're like, hey, I want to watch an episode. Like when I'm sitting to have lunch, if I'm going to open a YouTube video, I even know the channel I want to go to.
Yeah. Because it's a content resource library.
Whereas Instagram is a scroll to your board. I assume from what I know of TikTok, that's what it is. You're just like, I want to avoid a life challenge, and this is a way I can procrastinate it and distract myself, kind of.
I've asked a few people because I'm not like a TikTok user a lot. I don't think I've ever scrolled more than 3 or 4 videos, you know? And I asked people about it, and I know a lot of people who prefer TikTok over Instagram. But I also don't scroll Instagram and Facebook. If I find myself scrolling for like,
on that note, actually, I just thought of this. I don't think I've shared this with you yet. Evan Carmichael, one of the most successful, most influential people around. I just found out the other day when I was on a group call with him and a bunch of people, he disclosed and shared that Instagram used to be his number 2 platform. Now it's TikTok. He's making TikTok his number 2 platform. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I think it's TikTok did become the most downloaded app on the Apple App Store, specifically for teens. It is number 2 in the Google Play Store. Meta's suite of apps, such as Facebook or Instagram or so on, I think it was Instagram, is still number 1 in the Google Play Store. And also, I saw a stat somewhere here that, based on this study anyways, it was from Piper Sandler, that said that out of the 7,000 plus people, the teens that they surveyed, 87% of them have an iPhone, and 80% of the people who don't have an iPhone said their next phone is going to be an iPhone. So I don't know.
And 13% said, I hate my parents. Why won't they?
Yeah. So, but it's just showing that, like, I don't know how much this matters, that, teens are gravitating towards Apple devices and the Apple ecosystem. And, I don't know how much it really means to the story, but I just thought that was interesting. And that, and people are starting, there's a lot more data around spending and commerce and so on within TikTok, and people buying things that they see on TikTok. So yeah, I think it's interesting to see kind of what's going to happen there. But I'm going to predict that the next move, so TikTok just is testing 10-minute reels, or not reels, sorry, 10-minute vertical videos. My prediction is they go to horizontal videos with more of a web experience and compete head to head with TikTok. And that's going to really make this competition TikTok versus YouTube. Right now, a lot of reports, and you look at these comparisons, most of it is about TikTok versus Instagram. That's everyone's comparing those two. It was actually, I had to search to find an article about TikTok versus YouTube. And this was the best one I could find. So I think the conversation is going to change over the next few months. And so that's my prediction.